Hi everyone, Anthony Taormina here with Tucson Subaru, and the wait is finally over. The 2020 Outback has arrived, and I think it's going to be a good point for us to cover some of the differences inside and out, because if you look at this at first glance, you don't immediately recognize a lot of the things they did that not only help with aerodynamics, but are cosmetically more friendly. So my goal today is to show you some of those visual differences. We're going to talk about the performance differences as well. Once we get it on the inside, we're going to show the technology comparisons to what we had in the previous model and what we have going forward. So starting with the front, you can immediately see, as you're comparing, the bumper line is much more aggressive on the 2020 model. It connects all the way across the front, different color base here. It's going to be more of that silver finish. Next to this, where it had grooves that cut out, giving you much more of a painted feel on the front. This does make it feel immediately more aggressive. Now mixing that with the squared layouts for your fog lights here versus the circle, that also kind of works hand in hand with that aggression they're kind of going for in the front line. You have the grille that sticks out a little bit more prominently, making it more of an upright feel. And that goes well with the streamlined headlights. They're actually a lot sleeker than they were before. You'll also notice they redesigned the turn signal reflectors on the sides. The turn signal is now on the exterior versus on the 2019 and before it was on the interior of the mirror. That's going to help a lot when it comes to everybody around you seeing your turn signal engaged. So they're not only thinking about just the looks, but also the concepts of what other people are going to do around you. That goes back to safety. Clearly one of Subaru's core values. So you can see that kind of goes straight into the hood line here. What we had previously, you have cuts that go across the top on the wider angles, versus on this, you now have those same cuts mixed with a faint shadow line that sticks up right in the center, going very aggressive on that look. Now, when looking at the inside, this is going to be probably the most immediate difference you'll notice. Of course, you have the 11.6-inch infotainment system right in the middle. That's changed quite a bit as far as the way this feels and looks. They have tried to minimize quite a the functional buttons and taken them away from this dash and lower area you're used to down by your left knee. They have now put that into the menu itself. Whenever you get into this, you can see you have a separate area on top that's going to have information that you can choose to have displayed all the time. You'll have your app layout right down here on the bottom. You can actually create shortcuts that'll allow you to create more icons based on what you like to have easily accessible right in front of you. You will have the air conditioning right on the very bottom. Whenever I click in it, it'll pull it right up for me to be able to adjust my climate, set my heated seat, different things like that. It does have the dual climate as well. You'll have new adjustments that will allow it to be a little bit more comfortable inside the vehicle. Not only do you have one airflow going from the base in the top, but you'll also be able to adjust it for a little bit less airflow, so you can make sure that you have all the comfort you really want it to be. You also have a new feature with the heated seat function. Instead of just the base, it goes all the way up through the shoulders. This is really going to help with comfort. I know the heat is a nice factor, but a lot of people do like to have that on simply for the back pain. And so if you could have it go all the way up higher, this is going to help that a lot. And then you have menu adjustments here. These are what you were used to having down by your knee. Some vehicles we have them up on the top. This is where you're going to be able to adjust your driver assist modes as far as blind spot detection with rear cross traffic alert. Lane departure warning and lane keep assist are now in one menu setting, so you can choose to have them both on or off. You're looking at cruise control acceleration characteristics. You can change the volume of your audible warnings. You do have the new auto stop start on the 2020 Outback, which you can turn on or off from this menu here. And the driver monitoring system, which now lays right on the top. This is going to be an option on the Limited and standard on the Touring model. This one will have a feature not only to let you know if you're getting drowsy, it'll alert you and tell you might want to take a break if you're looking away from the road too long, but that'll work hand in hand with the ability of setting up the memory profile. So the moment you sit into your vehicle, if somebody else had been driving it, it would adjust your seat, your side mirrors, everything to your settings to make it more convenient for you. Steering wheel looks very similar to what we had before. I definitely feel like it's a lot more streamlined, a little sleeker, and slightly a little bit smaller, just immediately gripping it. When you look at the settings, again, very similar in structure and everything, other than one simple feature here. On your EyeSight driver assist for cruise control, you will have a difference here. This now has driver lane centering. Now, if you had the previous model Outback, you would notice this button here used to be for the lane keep assist. That again is now inside your driver menu. Driver lane centering is an addition to your adaptive cruise control, where it would actually pick up the lines on the road or the vehicle in front of you and make sure that it follows that intended path. If you were to let go of the steering wheel briefly, it would make sure you are still angling on any curve you might be on. It's not designed to let the vehicle drive itself, but it is there to help with any mishaps or accidentals that you could have come about. If you let go of the steering wheel for too long, it will prompt you that it's going to turn that feature off, and you would have to put your hands back on the steering wheel to re-engage that system. You'll notice a nice feature. A lot of complaints came about, and I think they've made the right choices on changes. This used to have a closing door that would push open, and in the very back, hard to find USB ports and auxiliary port for the previous models. Now it's very visible. You still have a storage pocket that goes down deep for you to put your phone or anything you might need inside there, and your parking brake is put up a lot higher. The main point, this is much more user-friendly than the previous models were. Everything else right here is designed higher than the previous model as well, so it's easier for you to lay your arm in comfort, whether it's laying next to the shifting stick or on top of it. Your arm just fits perfectly right in the middle. So another key factor for a lot of people with different heights for drivers. I'm 6'4". A lot of times I don't have a lot of extension for my legs. They have now added that to this one here for your Limited. You have the option of extending the front portion out, giving myself a lot of comfort for that base of my leg here, when a lot of people may not want that as well. It's easy enough for them to clip it in. There's multiple distances, so it's not just one out, one in. You can actually station it to where it's good for you. The back area, very similar to what they had before. Other than some contour lines and color differences, you still have the rear air vents, heated seats for both of the side seats, as well as 2 USB ports in the back with a 2.1 amp power source. The big difference they made when it came to the child harnesses, instead of having 2 separate flaps that are kind of hard to pull out, this one you actually have one that's Velcroed onto the top, pulls right out, lays flat, so when you do have that child seat put in, it's much more ergonomic. It's not going to create a fold or anything that makes it worse when you put it back. Otherwise, still very spacious and comfortable, designed for an ease of getting in and out of for all types of passengers. Sometimes rear doors can be cut too far at a 70-degree angle. This one tries to get much closer to 90 degrees, really allowing you to have a good ease of getting in and out. Now, looking at the rear of the vehicle, also another prominent difference point. You can see at the top, you have a difference as far as the way this spoiler attaches to the back area. This cuts off very quickly here on the previous 2019 model. The 2020 goes much further down. This makes a significant difference on the airflow and the volume of that inside the vehicle as well. Also going down, you'll see that bumper line is much more prominent than we previously had. Less paint, more of a blackout area. And then you're going back to the squared factor, very similar to what you had before, but just some more edging, more of that aggressive touch as well. The other thing you'll notice, this does not say XT like the 2020 does. This one I pulled up, it's the XT model, which is the 2.4-liter turbo engine that replaced our Boxer 6 we previously had. This increased your horsepower to 277 pound-feet of torque. You're also increasing your fuel economy from what you had on that Boxer 6. All around, this is a much better vehicle that also gives you a tow capacity that is now to 3,500 pounds, up from your previous 2,700 pounds. So quite a bit of difference with that overall. You do still have the 2.5-liter. That's going to be the Boxer 4 engine. It increased with a different tune up to 182 horsepower from our previous 175. So great performance differences. You'll have that going hand in hand with your global platform. Much smoother. It's actually going to absorb up to 40% more of that energy that goes into the vehicle. It is 70% more rigid, so it's going to be quieter, smoother, stronger. Everything about this is what you would expect out of a Subaru. Now, what I'd like to test now, as you can see, we still have the power liftgate on both of them. Your taillights are still integrated in the back of them, much more aggressive on the 2020 model than you prior had. This cut off sharper. This one has a down point that connects to that taillight as well. So now, I'd like to test the power liftgate function. They've redesigned the motor that lifts this liftgate up. It is faster than it ever was before. Let's do this simultaneously. That is a substantial difference. Now they have actually put the motor inside the bar here on the left. That's going to alleviate a lot of the strain. It also changes your space you can use, because instead of having a third bar that goes into the vehicle here, which you can see here, that bar is what's connected to a motor. It's a lot more strain on that small piece to open up that entire door. Now, much larger, much easier for the system. It of course makes it faster and more seamless. This is going to hand in hand with that global platform change. You'll see the wheel wells are actually less sticking out. That gives you more storage space overall compared to that before. You still have a cargo tray, you still have your spare right up below here as well, with a little bit of a storage area for what you need. This still has all the core things you'd expect. They didn't remove anything that really makes a difference in what you'd love about Subaru Outback. They just made it more spacious and more user-friendly. They also changed for the door function. Before, if you tried to shut that, it would not. You have to push the power liftgate button. Now, you have a few options. You can push this to shut it. If you push the lock button, it will actually shut it and lock the vehicle, so you don't have to pull your key out at that point as well. If you were to pull the bar, it knows your goal is to shut it, and it takes over. That's a big improvement from what you had before. Very seamless, very nice to use, still gives you everything you hope for.